Okay, so we're on to our stability masterclass today. Thinking about stability, stability is literally just our ability to not react to change. So say when you are unbalanced and you might fall to the side, that is our ability to resist that change. So to be able to not fully fall over, to be able to activate maybe our core, maybe our glutes, to stay back up. So that's what we want to work on. As you can imagine, stability is super important with our lives, walking, running, anything like that, especially alongside our mobility. So those two work in conjunction. We really need to work on our balance. And a lot of the time as we get older, our balance and our stability starts to get less and less. So it's really good to get all of these exercises second nature right now. So we'll be working on our glutes. As you can imagine, they're a really big stability area for us. Maybe some bigger than others. Definitely my glutes are where I've got a huge amount of stability. And then our core as well. What we need to remember with our core is that it's not just the front, because I'm sure we've all got six packs, right? It's not just the front, it's everything else. So it's all the way from the pelvic floor, coming into these transverse abdominals, so that's underneath the belly button, so running down the sides here. Core sits all the way in. That feeling of sucking in, of containing everything that comes from that area just underneath the belly button. Then you have the obliques, so they run down the side, and then all of the muscles on the back as well, and the muscles that run down the spine, keeping the spine nice and stable and healthy. So a lot of things that work in our core that we need to focus on. And then stability wise, the only area of our glutes that we can actually pinpoint to change is our glute max. So the biggest muscle in our glutes. And then we've got the glutes on the side, as we've got two other areas of our glutes that they just react instinctively. So we want to always think about activating the glutes, but just knowing that there's only one area that you can actually activate. But it's very important. Okay, so we'll start warming up the core first and then we'll move on to the glutes. So we'll start all the way down. If you do have a block, grab your block now, or even, I keep saying kitchen roll, don't I? Even a kitchen roll, it's just going to be able to be, so when we're lying down, we're going to be grabbing hold of the block and our knee in between one another. So anything that's not super heavy, but that's going to give you that resistance and push and pull feeling. Okay, all the way down. Knees up, facing the sky, feet on the floor. One hand on the belly, one hand on the heart. Just breathe here, feeling that belly button rising and falling. Feeling our belly, our stomach area warming up. Ready to get moving. Taking our hands out long beside us, palms facing down. Pick up the feet off of the ground so your knees are still bent. And then really slowly start to take the knees over to the right, keeping that left shoulder onto the ground, using your belly button, pulling all of that energy through to your core, not letting the knees drop down to the ground. Inhale all the way up. Really feel every single movement here. And then over to the left, making sure that right shoulder is grounded. Feeling these obliques, so running down the sides of our torso, really working here, really activating to keep us stable, resisting this change. And only take the knees down as far as you can, keeping the shoulder, that opposite shoulder, on the floor. And so that you don't suddenly collapse and drop those knees down. Keep drawing the belly button towards your spine. Take this a few more times, starting to warm up. Okay, coming back to center. Planting the feet down now, hands by your side. You can still have the palms facing down. Setting up for a traditional bridge, so feet parallel, hips at distance apart. Just make sure you can touch your heels, knees straight up. Now, if you do need to put a block in between your thighs, so that you remember to pull those thighs together, absolutely do so. Remember this from the mobility masterclass we did. Try to work in best practice everywhere. If not, make sure the knees are facing up at all times. Really, really tiny movements here. We're just working on the pelvic floor area of the core. So on your inhale, you're going to feel like you're rolling this pelvis towards your face. So you're tucking your pelvis under. You're not lifting it off necessarily. Maybe it comes off a little bit. And you're flattening the whole of that lower back to the ground. You're really feeling this pelvic floor lifting up. So if you're not familiar with that feeling, it's like you're stopping yourself going to the toilet for a wee. And then release. Inhale, squeeze all the way up. Feel that pelvic floor pulling up. Now we don't want to always engage our pelvic floor throughout our practice. Exhale, release. Inhale again. We want to have moments where we are using it and then moments that we completely relax it. Because if you always engage a muscle, it actually creates weakness. So there's quite a big case at the moment. Keep going through, inhale, lift, and exhale, release. There's quite a big case at the moment that a lot of yogis, really advanced yogis that have been doing a practice, an Ashtanga practice, which is a very rigid form of yoga. And that's very much about holding these different bandhas, these different body locks throughout our bodies. And one of them is the pelvic floor, and it's been held too much. And they're actually having to go to the doctors with bladder problems. So it's really important to know when to activate and then to be able to release a couple more times. I always find it helpful putting my hand on any area that I'm working. It just almost sends that signal from the brain to that area. One more time, make sure you're still grounding all four corners of the feet. Squeeze, squeeze, squeeze that pelvic floor. And release, good job. Coming into our dead bugs now. So you'll be lifting your legs off of the ground. Again, in this 90-degree angle. Now your lower back, quite a lot of the times you'll hear squeeze your lower back to the ground, but naturally we do have a curve in our lower back. So it's just important not to over-exaggerate and let the rib cage flare. So you want to keep all of this ribs contained and this upper part of the body, so the thoracic spine, flat to the ground. But know that you can have a natural curve to your back. What's important though is your core is engaged, so the belly button, and remember the corset muscles underneath are pulling towards the spine, so they're engaged. That's how you engage your muscles. Your hands all the way up. Now, whether you want to just start with your hands, extending them behind you to start with, just feeling this weight distribution change, or start just with your legs, or you're confident to go the opposite arm and opposite leg. Now, what we want to remember when we go opposite arm, opposite leg, is that you only take your leg as far down as possible by keeping the least amount of curve in that lower back. So if your leg starts to drop and suddenly you start to stick these ribs out because you just can't keep that core engaged anymore, then you just need to pick up that leg so it's not as far down, so you can keep that control. Switching over to the other side. Nice inhales and exhales still. Even though we're working the core, we want to be able to do both. Now, what I want everybody to do, whilst you're doing this, just quickly pull your head up and gaze down to your stomach area. What I want is that your whole stomach is as flat as can be, obviously not completely flat. As flat as can be, rather than if you completely let go of your ab muscles, your core muscles, and you get this doming effect in the middle. That means you're not engaging the core, the deep inner layer of the core. So just come out of that stretch and just take it down a notch so you can keep the whole feeling of the core, the external and the internal working together. Keep going. The slower the better. Really good job. This time when you get to one side, hold it here for as long as you can until you feel that release of your stomach, until you start to lose the control and you do start to feel that doming. And then come back, so reaching your limits. Remembering to breathe. Good job, hug the knees in. Squeezing those shoulders down. Now this is where we're going to use our blocks. You're going to place the block long ways, so the longest way is facing you and the other longest side is on your knees. You're going to have both elbows onto the block, feet back up in that same position, driving those elbows into the block, driving your knees into the block as well, trying to keep it stable. It's going to start wobbling. Taking one knee away, driving the opposite elbow into that block, returning, and the other way, and returning. Good job. Keep going. My block's starting to slip. Do a couple more here until you feel that core give out, or your block falls down like mine's about to. Really good job. Take that block away. Nice work. Okay, take any stretches you feel like you need. Okay, if it's comfortable for you, rock and roll up and down your mat and meet us in all fours. If not, roll over to the side and push yourself up. Come all the way over. Coming into some cat-cows to help open up the back area of our core and stretch out those muscles at the front that we've been working. So inhale, gaze up for your cow, pull those shoulder blades together, drop that pelvis, really allow that belly to hang, stretching through. Exhale, rounding through that spine, pushing the mat away, chin to the chest. Inhale all the way down, gaze up. Exhale all the way back. One more time. Fully exhale. All the way back. Okay, coming into side plank, through to plank, back to side plank. Again, you can start with modified, so we'll start with our right side, so you can take the left foot straight out to the left side of the mat, right foot straight out to the back of the mat, and that right heel and the left knee are in line, and the left hand is down. Now make sure with the shoulder that the shoulder is not in front of that wrist, because your wrists, depending on how flexible your wrists are, that maybe the natural state of them isn't at this 90-degree angle. So when you have your hands down and your shoulder is on top and you start to take the shoulder forward, you're starting to come into an even deeper flexion here. So if you take your shoulder over your wrist, this is at this flexion I'm comfortable with, but you can always take the shoulder slightly behind and then that's less of a flexion. So find what's most comfortable for you, just make sure it's not over, because that's when you're going to cause problems in your shoulder stability. Right hand all the way up. Now if you're comfortable here, take off that right leg. Really squeeze. We're working our glutes as well a little bit as well, actually I've stuck both in. Working this lifted glute, activating so that you keep your toes facing forward, maybe even a little bit down, but we don't want the toes facing up. So engage this glute. Engage the underside through that oblique, so the left oblique. And keep that belly button drawing to your spine, so you're flat. Like flat standing, if anybody's Remember flat standing? So we're not sticking out like this, we're keeping really flat. Taking our hand over to the front, squeezing our knee and our elbow towards one another. And reaching. And squeezing, exhale. And reaching. Again, the slower the better, the more control the better. And reaching. You can always bow out and take that leg back down, keeping that engagement, joining back in whenever you feel like it. And out. Now for some people this might be quite simple, but even for me, and I do this a lot, if you are working the right muscles, you will feel that engagement. Hold here with your extension. Come all the way around to your high plank. Now this can absolutely be with your knees down or take your knees up. Now if you're still in your knees down, keep this core engaged. You're going to be so bored of me saying this, but draw your belly button towards your spine. Push the mat away with your hands so that you can feel engaged here rather than just slumping down like this. If your feet are off, draw that energy through the heels. You might want to ever so slightly tuck the pelvis if you feel like your bum is sticking out, but assess that for yourself because every body is different. Keep the core engaged. Gaze probably just in front of those index fingers in between, so you've got a nice straight neck. Keep working. Final inhale. Exhale, take that right knee down, swinging that right knee to the right side of the mat, coming into that modified side plank again. Thinking about that shoulder and the wrist. Left hand up to the sky. Left leg up. Activate that left glute. Activate that oblique on the underside, that right side. Left hand all the way to the front. Keeping that body flat. Try not to stick those ribs out. Exhale, draw the knee and elbow towards one another. And reach. Knee to elbow. Inhale, reach. Make sure you're still driving the energy through that hand. You're still trying to pick up that underside of your torso as much as possible, almost like there's a fire underneath you. Keep going. One more time. And keep that extension, lifted that leg if you can. Keeping the core engaged. Exhale all the way down. High plank again. Maybe you try lifting the feet, the heels off, the knees. High plank again. Maybe you try lifting the knees off. Driving that energy through the floor. Energy through the heels. Engaging those quads, pulling those knees up. Keeping that pelvis tucked if you need to. Belly button drawing to the spine. And breathing. Okay, final big inhale. Exhale, we're coming all the way down to the ground. So come down to your knees if you want. Shoulders ever so slightly over the wrists if that's comfortable. Take the elbow straight back, hug the biceps into your chest, torso all the way down at the same time. Just rest onto one cheek, take the hands behind you. You might want to just rotate through those wrists. Okay, working on that back of our core now. Coming into our locus pose. So whether you want to just do the hands, or you want to do the hands and the feet, or build up to it, you assess. So forehead down. Take the hands behind us, spin the hands around so the palms are facing out and the thumbs are facing up. The feet can absolutely be just about hips width apart. Now back bends, we want to activate our glutes, but keep our hips square. So for me, if I activate my glutes too much, I externally rotate.
So that means my hips, so like we were talking about mobility, my hips and my legs start to rotate away from my body, but we want to keep neutral so the toes are still facing down, the toes aren't facing out. So assess whether that's the same for you. Okay, setting up, forehead down, big inhale, take the forehead up by driving the hands back so much that it lifts that chest off. Drive the pelvis into the ground. That gaze is probably just in front of your mat. Using the back muscles, try to lift yourself up, but keeping that core engaged. Glutes engaged. Final inhale. Exhale all the way down, resting on the other cheek. Really big breaths. Forehead back down. Now this is the opportunity to lift off those feet as well, or stay with the hands, whatever you want to do. Set up again, palms facing out, thumbs facing up. Drive the hands back as much as you can until that lifts off the chest and maybe the feet lift off. Drawing those hands further back, drawing the feet further up. Using those glutes, just double check that you aren't externally rotating. Driving the pelvis into the ground. Remembering to breathe. So many things I fire at you. Final inhale. Exhale all the way down. Good job. We've just got one more and then we're done with our core and we'll move on to those glutes. Really nice big breaths. Okay, forehead down, get that energy. Big inhale. Exhale, set up. Next inhale, drive those hands back, chest comes off. Feet come off as well if you want to just test it out for a second. Driving those hands further back, feet further up. Still breathing. Final inhale. Exhale, fully release. Really good job. Taking a couple of breaths here. Forehead back down, hands under the shoulders. Really slowly push all the way up and over into your child's pose. Knees together, toes together. Sink the forehead down. Now in our yoga practice we always like to do counter poses, especially when we've been doing something that is taking that back in the opposite direction. So in a wheel pose, so that's our back bends, we try to come in to a counter pose like a child's pose or a forward fold. Feeling the spine settle back in. Feeling that breath come back to stillness. Final inhale. Exhale. Inhale, come all the way up. Coming into our glute work now, so rotating all the way around to the side. Whatever side you want to start with first, either propping yourself up on this forearm or coming all the way down, coming into our clam shells. So our feet are together, knees are together. Place those heels probably in line with your bum. You can either have your hand on your hip. Again, like I was saying at the start, I like to have my hand around here because it sends that signal to the area that I want to be working. So we're literally just going to be lifting the top knee off, drawing the knee back, but using just the glutes. Trying not to use energy from the knee or pushing the foot into each other to lift up. So really just squeezing this glute. Slower the better. You don't need to rush here. Take 30 reps. Ten. 20, 10, 9, 8, 7, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Good job. Swing all the way over to the other side. Setting up again. Hand wherever you want it to go. 30 reps. Ten. 20, 10, 9, 8, 7, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, and 1. Good job. Resting down, coming all the way onto our all fours. We're going to be doing 10 donkey kicks and then 10 rainbows. So donkey kicks, you flex your foot, you bend up your knee in this 90-degree angle, and really small movements driving that flex sole of the foot to the sky. So 10 of those and then coming into rainbows. So trying to keep stable rather than swinging around on this knee. Taking the little right leg to start with, take the right leg to the right and then up and over to the left. But trying not to swing through this left hip to get your right leg down. Okay, so right foot up, push the mat away, core engaged. 10, 9, 8, 7, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Rainbow. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. Switching over to the left. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. Also make sure you're not dipping down into your back as well. You're keeping nice and lifted. Rainbows. 1, 2, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. Back to the right side. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. Rainbows. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. Good job. Left side. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. Good job. Rainbows. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. One more time, both sides. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. Final time. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, rainbows. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. Good job. Take it back into child's pose. We're going to stretch out those glutes. Wiggling from side to side, giving them a good old stretch. Okay, coming into some balancing, where we are going to have to be using that core and the glutes to keep us stable. So putting a few of those things into play that we've already been working on. Block's going to be super helpful, or a chair or something, because we're going to be doing some one leg balances. Okay, coming into, we're going to do a curtsy squat into half moon. Now if this feels a bit sticky on your hip, then I would say don't do it. I would say go curtsy squat, come back into your stalk pose, and then take your leg down, and then come in to your half moon, because for some people coming in from an internal to an external, it's not that nice on their hips. So just have a bit of an assess and see how you feel. So we did a little bit something like this the other day on my flow into February, so let's see how it goes. So we'll start with lifting up this left leg into our stalk. Put your hands wherever they're going to give you enough balance. Take this left knee behind the right, coming into your curtsy squat. As far down as you can go using this right glute. Coming all the way back up again into your stalk. Keep that core engaged. Pull that area underneath your belly to your spine. And then starting to take the left knee out to the side. Really activating through the standing leg, keeping the glute active. Starting to take the left leg long, externally rotating the thigh now, so it's rotating away from the body. Taking that leg all the way up to hip height. Now, see if you can balance. If not, take your hand down to a block. And what we want is a really nice open chest and nice open hips as well. So to have open hips, you need that external rotation. So you need to be thinking about that hip driving up to the sky and the glutes squeezing towards one another. Come all the way back, switching onto the other side. Okay, hands wherever you need them. Core engaged already. Glutes engaged already. Pick up this right leg. Bend through that left leg, curtsy squat, right leg behind. Inhale all the way up, back to your stalk. Activate the left glutes, activate that core. Right leg behind, starting to lengthen all the way behind us. Squeezing both glutes, maybe you take the hand down to that block. Take the hand up to the sky. Opening that chest. Externally rotating that top leg. Keeping that glute working all the way back. Let's do that one more time, both sides. Stalk pose, hands into chest, activate that core. Left knee, curtsy squat behind the right. All the way back up through stalk. Knee out to the side, start to externally rotate. Maybe you start to be able to balance this time. Keeping this top hip opening out, squeezing the glutes together. Keeping the chest nice and open. Breathing here, flat standing again, don't expand those ribs all the way back, good work. Okay, one more time. Right leg up, squeezing that left glute. Taking that curtsy squat, right leg behind. All the way back up. Knee out to the side. Activate those glutes and core already, otherwise you are going to wobble. Good job. All the way back. Take the feet just over hips width apart. Big inhale, hands up. Exhale, big fold all the way over your legs. Bending those legs a lot, resting the thighs and chest towards one another. Shaking from side to side, swaying. Releasing all of that tension. Okay, coming all the way down to seated. Really good job with that stability. I'm sure you wobbled a lot, but you saw that I was wobbling as well. So it's good to work on, fun to work on, good for our brain. So remember, activate the glutes, activate the core. Thank you very much.